Welcome to What the Flick, guys. The final episode of the midpoint of Mad Men. 7 episodes to go. Waterloo.
Yes.
Giving us the line every time an old man starts talking about Napoleon.
You know he's going to die.
They're going to die. So we lose Bert Cooper at the end. I was, right before we started taping, Alonso Duralde, Ryan Turk, Ben Mankzz, because I think this is a mistake by AMC, and that to give us only 7 episodes, and then the amount of time we have to wait. It's not like 3 months, not like we're waiting until the fall, but sometime next year, maybe April. I don't even think they know yet, but maybe January. But you did point out, Alonso, and I think that this did at least feel endy.
Yeah,
like it is
intermission-y.
Right, it did feel intermission-y, right? Yeah, go get yourself a beverage.
Complete with a send-off by Bert. Complete with a send-off. I always thought his little musical number was a nice little, let's all go to the lobby.
I loved that, especially because Robert Morse, really on this show, was kind of stunt casting, because he is most famously J. Pierpont Finch of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which is this great sort of 60s big business satire, first on Broadway, and then he starred in the movie. So to send him off with a song and dance number was like, yes, Robert Morse is J. Pierpont Finch again. I love it.
It was good. It was, it was a startling scene as Don walks down. So he does a very Don thing. They're all meeting to announce Bert's death, and presumably maybe to tell them about this big change,
pending
merger with McCann Erickson. And Don's like, as always with Don, I don't need to be here, even though what they're about to say is. And Don will once again be the creator.
Saving his bacon.
Right, yeah, but he's like, I go, and the last line that he gives is is so emblematic of what Don became. She's there like, where are you going? He's like, I got work to do. Like, this is what got him back to his true center.
Right.
Was working and putting his head down, and it turned out it paid off.
That's what I like about this episode was the themes of work versus business. And I think a lot of us feel this way too. Sometimes we have to think about the business of what's getting the hits and what's getting the traffic for our sites and stuff like that. And for this, it was Don just getting back to his roots, and for him to turn Ted around too. Because Ted was like, I'm out, I just want to drink orange juice and vodka and hang out at my office and fly planes. And he was able to turn Ted around by the very end too. Begrudgingly, I think Ted might flip-flop in the second half of the season.
Right, but the idea of screw this business stuff, let's just do the writing and do what we like to do.
I love that.
And what I thought, initially when I first thought of it, I trust the show so much that but at first I thought, man, you turned Ted around in 48 seconds. I know you're Don Draper, and there's nobody pitches better. But then I thought, you know what, this guy is supremely depressed. And if a depressed person has someone say, no, do this, and I'm going to hold your hand through it, and everything's going to be okay.
And there's a couple million bucks.
And there's a couple $1 million in it. You're like, all right, fine. So
weirdly enough,
and
I
he
think
gets to move back to the city.
Exactly. I think this episode kind of illustrates that Don's a pretty good dad, both to his actual daughter and to his surrogate work daughter, because you have that great phone call with Sally, where he's basically telling her to drop the cynical bullshit, and that kind of compels her to sort of ditch, chunk hard chest and go out and make out with Neil the astronomer.
I didn't. That's a great point. I presume other people it occurred to them. That was such a wonderful, beautiful moment where she just kisses the dork.
Yeah.
And what do we do now? But of course, that was for her dad. That was because. You're right. It's not cynical, right? It's pretty cool.
And then to have that, the Peggy has her carousel moment. Burger Chef is her carousel. Holy shit, you can do this.
Yep.
You are the king of this or the queen of this. And he is so proud of her, and so first of all, he's pragmatic in letting her do the pitch in the first place. The idea being, look, they're going to kick me out, and then we're going to have to do this all over again. If you make the pitch, it doesn't matter if I'm with the firm or not, Burger Chef stays. Yeah. But then to give her the confidence to do it, to pep her up and talk her through it, and basically, and not even like he's guiding her, it's that he is assuring her that she has the chops, which she does.
I almost don't want it to continue because, the sort of Don's arc and his rehabilitation is so pure and so good that I don't want 7 episodes for it to disintegrate. Because he does 3 unbelievable undone things in this episode, but again, they're only they're only an undeveloped Don. I mean, it's plausible that he would now. He does the thing with Peggy. He could go out with a bang and be like, look, your guys are firing me. I just nailed Burger Chef. I'm the man. You, right? But he doesn't, right? He helps Peggy because it'll help her long term and because it's the right thing to do. He has this mercifully, Megan breaks up with him by saying the words,
combo.
Don. And so mercifully that relationship's over. Both people will be happy without it, even though they both feel very lonely at this moment. And then he says I'll whatever you need, I'll take care of you. And then when she says I can, I'll be all right myself. And he's like, well, until then. Like, it's a way of saying you're not weak, you can take care of yourself, but there might be some. But there might be 15 months of transitioning, and you're good for those 15 months. Don't sweat this. That was wonderful. And then, of course, the great moment where I don't even know her name, but his inept, dumb as a post secretary. What do you need? And he doesn't humiliate her. Even then he's like, you could get my attorney on the phone, and we're not going to do this.
This can't happen.
Right, even better, right? This can't happen. You're right, of course. Not now. And he's like, all right, whatever.
Now that they're putting Don on this great journey and he's found a little bit of redemption, do you think that the second half of the season will be all about Roger's decision with this merger? Because it's a very hasty merger. Do you think that there's something behind the scenes that we're not seeing just yet?
I kind of feel like that really both Roger and Don are responding to the last things they heard from Bert.
Yeah.
That Roger is told that he's not a leader and Don is told that he's not a team player. And they both turn around and show, oh yes I am. I can be. I'm capable of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that Roger.
When did Bert tell Don he wasn't a team player?
When he basically said that he was an egotist and that
Yeah, when there was 2 episodes or last episode, Don came in because he wanted to change a pitch and he was like, I got another great idea. And Bert's like, you just walked in here and we told you. There's a process to all of this.
Right.
And you're going around that again.
And so so I think that we're seeing, and I think also for Roger, like you're talking about work versus business. Work is all he has left. The daughter is lost forever to these hippies, at least at the moment. His personal life is a shambles, and now that Bert's gone, it's like he has to become daddy basically, or else he loses everything.
And as he said outright, he choked him up, like I can't lose Don too.
Yeah.
Like this is too much. I lost my daughter. I lost my surrogate father.
Sure.
I can't.
Especially if you vultures are going to be like circling over my corpse one day while it's still cold, warm,
that made it easy for him.
Yeah.
Because anger can, incite you to action. So I said this on the last review, the last recap, but I'm struck. I don't think it's an accident that we see how profoundly lonely these people are. They're good. And here's this seminal moment. Mad Men has been in so many times, whether it's the Kennedy-Nixon debates, or the JFK assassination, to some extent the Bobby assassination, the riots. These are television moments where they all gather around. I may be leaving some out, but they watch TV.
Sure.
And here they are in this moment, and look how lonely Roger is with his estranged family.
Yeah.
His son-in-law's daughter's not even there, as you mentioned, she's lost. And Peggy is on the road and has this wonderful relationship with this 10-year-old boy who's smart enough to know that we're never going to see each other once I move to Newark.
Right.
And then these people who don't even like each other, except for now Peggy and Don, but I mean, Peggy, Don, Pete, and Harry's wife is divorcing him and only going to stay if he has the partner money, and they're in a hotel in Indianapolis watching this together. Megan is totally alone. And Bert is with his maid.
Right.
Everyone is lost in a sense. They're not the only people who actually are together. Unbelievably, are freaking Betty and Henry.
The Francises.
Right.
But I love how Peggy weaves that into the pitch. That moment of togetherness and uses that as a stepping off point. It's true, and I love the opening moment of this episode being the launch of the rocket and the vacuum cleaner, and Bert was like, "Could you turn that off?" Quiet, woman. This show is so smart about realizing that these things, while they did draw everyone together, and the eyes of the nation were glued upon it. Real life continued to carry on. And so just that little moment of there's also someone's vacuuming the rug, and you have to tell them to turn the vacuum cleaner off because remember when the vacuum would go on to the what happened?
It would mess up the and I would like to think that Bert Cooper's final line life
Bravo.
was Bravo.
Yes.
That the heart attack came shortly after that.
Somebody pointed out that when he did the obituary for was it Ida, the secretary who dropped dead a couple of years ago, that she was born in a barn and died on the 37th floor of a skyscraper. She was an astronaut.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I did. You speak of the loneliness of the characters. I did get a nice little warmth in my stomach when I saw Peggy and Don sitting on the bed together watching. Because now that they've mended things, it kind of gives me hope for the two of them where they could possibly go. Megan's out of the picture now, and it feels like. The audiences are thinking these two should be together.
Oh God,
but maybe
no.
I don't know, man. I don't know. The work relationship draws a lot of people together, and sometimes you gotta play it out.
That scene where they dance in the office, to me, like I said, that's a father-son, that's a father-daughter movie.
I feel like Peggy meets somebody and Don walks her down the aisle.
Absolutely, he's father of the bride, but he's not the groom in this scenario.
I think that's not what he wants. She might confuse it at some point,
right?
But
he would give her. This is not happening.
Right.
This can't happen.
No. There's definitely reason to hope for them because they have this work connection, and workplace relationships can mean something. That said, both of them are going to go home to emptiness.
Yeah.
Right.
And Don, who has a zillion options to cure that emptiness, is suddenly disinterested in those cures.
And she's got her new handyman. That was introduced this episode.
I hope that'd be nice.
Yeah.
As
the kid's on his way.
Very subtle way for that guy to give him the number. That's good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that was it was great. And by the way, Ted also, of course, wildly alone. And,
was this the first episode that we actually got a nice blue screen or green screen shot of the plane with Ted driving? Because we always get inside the cockpit while Ted's going, and this one we actually got a nice wide shot of the actual plane, like prop.
I thought that was. I was not happy with that shot. I did some rewinding on that shot.
It was really tacky.
And for a moment, I was like, "Is it possible that's a glider and the propeller is green screened on and they're getting pulled and that's a real shot and they're flying?" No. There's no.
Watch a couple episodes of Turn and then whenever they're on the water, this looks like 2001 by comparison.
The Don Draper mensch is not where we thought we'd be.
No.
I think at the end of last season, it sort of signaled like that the human being was going to emerge.
I thought that was a false flag. I thought that was an Alex Jones false flag. I thought, but it was not. And I would be wonderful if it just ended. For me, I like happy endings when they're authentic. And if he could have a happy ending with his. If he could have a successful conclusion, because I was about to say with his daughter, like that would be, and his kids, and like the last step for him now, and we got a glimpse of it here is, I'm always saying now, and when I'm watching Mad Men, I'm like, call your kids. Call your kids. You have a moment. Pick up the phone. Call your kids. So maybe.
Who's thinking of Gene?
Right. Or Gene. We got a glimpse of Gene.
I know. Who's our age.
Right. That's right. All right. So good stuff. And obviously, we'll see you in 2017 for the final 7 episodes.